What up, what up? Welcome on in to Inside Baylor Sports, the official daily podcast of Baylor Athletics. On today's show, we look at the spring football season and recap it. We'll hear from Dave Aranda as he discusses the quarterback competition and our needs in the transfer portal. Plus, we discuss our impact returners, who Baylor fans need to keep their eyes on next fall. All that and more coming up on the show. Don't forget, you can catch Inside Baylor Sports every weekday. You can also watch the video version for free over at BaylorPlus.com and on the Baylor Athletics YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, rate, and review the pod. And follow Baylor Plus today on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. It's the official content network of Baylor Athletics. Think Netflix for your Baylor Bears. Download the app on your mobile device and sign up for your free 7-day trial today at BaylorPlus.com. It's Monday, April 22nd, 2024. Justin Hoff alongside the Baylor Bear insider, Jerry Hill. And Jerry, I got to say, my favorite time of the day is when I'm talking to you. And maybe I need to improve my days, right? Because you're the best thing on it.
I mean, if that's the best thing on it, you definitely need to improve your days. I need you to maybe expand a little bit or something, because you need to have better parts of you. And I'm sure it is great spending time with me. Who wouldn't want to spend time with me? But if it's your best part of your day, yeah, you need to work on the rest of your day.
Second best, okay, outside of spending time with my family, my wife, my dogs, my kids. But gotta put that caveat. But you're right there, and it's real close. It's real close. Jerry, how was your weekend? Good weekend for you?
It was obviously green and gold weekend. A lot of events going on. Tried to get to just about everything. Obviously went to the final football, the spring game / practice, but baseball and softball both hosting home series. The MJ, the Michael Johnson Invitational. Some little bit of star power out there as well. So yeah, it was one of those fun weekends, Justin. There's weekends like that throughout the year where just seems like everything is going on. And this was one of those where it just hit that, we had so many home events going on, and it was fun. It was a good weekend.
Tuesday's podcast, tomorrow's pod, we'll talk about the weekend, break down everything that happened over in Baylor Athletics this weekend. Today's show, though, focusing in on spring football. The season's in the books. Here's Dave Aranda's thoughts on the spring.
This was a way productive spring. The energy and the battle part of spring was very strong. There'd be some pretty intense competition periods, more competition periods this spring than in the past, a lot of call-it periods. And, I thought there's a lot of growth with the offense all throughout, and defensively the fight, and, the scrimmages that we had were very emotional and very intense. And so all of it really good to see. I think from the very beginning, ball, brotherhood, and battle were the points of emphasis, and it's cool to kind of see that at the end.
Ball, brotherhood, and battle, Jerry. All words. I see what they did there with the bees, but all words that are key. You think about this team and the demeanor of Coach Aranda in terms of at practice. He talked about things are a little different in the spring for him. He gets a little bit more mad now. He's in the weeds of it, if you will, at linebacker and calling plays defensively. What do you make of those comments from Coach?
Yeah, I think obviously that was kind of their emphasis this spring. And if you look around, particularly in the football area, that's everywhere. Ball, brotherhood, battle. And, so I think they were stressing that. Those were, just kind of points of emphasis, things that they wanted to focus on. And, I think that was kind of the big deal of the spring, playing ball, making ball so important. That brotherhood, the bonds you have with the rest of your team, and then the battle, battling for starting positions, battling the offense, battling the defense battling the offense. So all of those things were important. And I think, they made some strides in those areas, Justin. I think those were things that they wanted to get better in and wanted to emphasize. And I think they did get better during the spring.
And let's not forget every blade of grass, right? We talked about that last week, and that's just important, and so we need to do that defensively and offensively. Special teams hasn't got a lot of love, in the spring, and I know that's a piece that sometimes fans forget about. But let's face it, there's three parts to a football game, and if you're winning two of those three, you got a chance to win. And special teams can be critical, whether it's field position, field goals, returns, and things like that. We saw what Richard Reese did at the end of the season. Excited about what we can do on special teams. Also excited about our quarterback competition. And for a lot of fans, obviously quarterback, the most important position in the game of football and arguably in all the sports. And most fans around the country, that quarterback position, that gets the attention. Jerry, no starter named as of yet. No clear intel here on what's going to happen and when this decision is going to go down. But that's more of a common theme now in the world of NIL and the transfer portal. And I know when we look around the country, I know sometimes our fans or Baylor fans in general are focused in on us, but there was a lot of teams that did not name their starting quarterback this spring and are going to let it kind of carry into the summer and name the quarterback during fall camp.
Yeah, I think ideally you would like to have a starter name by the end of spring. But I think it was one of those cases, Justin, where, really all three of the guys had their strengths. They all can do certain things. And, I just don't think there was enough separation yet. But as Dave mentions, they're going to go over everything. They're going to look at film. I liked his line, "Film don't lie." So that's what they're going to look at. They're going to look at those things. They're going to look at the good, the bad, the ugly, and kind of determine where they are. And they're going to have honest talks with these guys. I don't know, in the next week or two if you name a starter, but I think they're going to have some honest talk about, hey, this is where you stand, and you need to get better in these areas, that kind of thing. So they're going to, with those guys, whether it's naming somebody or not, they're going to have some honest talk about, hey, you haven't won the job yet. With say DeQuan, a lot of people thought, hey man, this was the, MAC Conference Player of the Year. He's going to come in here. It's his job, all of that. Sawyer Robertson, though. I mean, this is a guy that, was recruited by Mike Leach to Mississippi State. He's got all kinds of talent. He looks good back there in the pocket. But Sawyer, maybe this is what you need to work on. So I think right now it's a deal where each guy brings something, and they're maybe a little bit better in those areas. But they want one guy to be good in all phases. And I know one of the things he talks about is the decision making. So he wants to see them make good decisions. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I don't anticipate naming a starter. I think it'll go right through till the fall. Because I know that's what Coach Spavital had said at one point was, he likes to wait until like maybe a week or 2 weeks before the opening game and name the starter then. So we'll see. But yeah, that's just kind of where we are right now.
Yeah, and I say, hey, too, just what sports do in general, earn it, right? You got to earn it and make people earn it over time. And if it's too close of a call, you don't need to rush to judgment. What you don't want to do is name the starter next week and then give it to the other guy in training camp. And it's like, what the heck are you doing here? And so you got to be confident with your decision and stick to it for that first game. So no rush there. Here's Coach on the quarterbacks.
It's a strong room, and I think their ability to take the install, a fair amount of install. There's a lot of offense in, I think, and to run with it, and like all the competition periods we have, to not blink with any of that. And the movement that we had up front when the O-line was kind of being put back together again, was all that makes it hard for quarterbacks. And I thought they were impressive, especially in the later part of spring.
There's Coach on the quarterback. So a strong room. And I'm really excited about this room. I think about this room. I think it's got the capability, Jerry, to be one of the strongest rooms we've had since 2016. You think about the guys like Seth Russell, and Zach Smith was on that team, and Jarrett Stidham in 2015, some of those teams. And so that's a long time ago, right? That's 8 years ago. Our hair's changed a lot of colors. But I think with Sawyer Robertson, this spread offense, I think that ignited him. I think that's a situation where he's better fit for this offense. So instantly he got better, and he's a year older, and he's been at Baylor now. And so things are slowing down for him. And then DeQuan, he comes in, and that's a challenge, learning new teammates and learning the culture and the system in Waco, Texas, much different than, what he's used to up there in the Midwest with Michigan and Toledo. Of course, he's a Michigan native, Michigander. Big fan of that, obviously. But it's going to be a battle. And I'm really excited about these two. I think they're going to continue to make each other better. I think in our society, we always want the answer now, right? We always want it now. We don't want a gray area or wait, right? We want everything right now. Your favorite TV show, you don't want to wait for the next episode. You want it all now. And so for this one, though, I think in due time, the waiting will cure everything. And I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Did you say Michigander?
That's what it's called. Like
Michigander.
Texan. Yep, Texan Michigander. I didn't create the name. That's a fact, though. That's what it's called.
I don't think that's a thing, Justin. That sounds like made up.
Okay, I lived 25 years in Michigan. After the podcast, you can use what's called Google. And go take a look for yourself, but it's Michigander.
Yes, back on the quarterbacks. And, I think you hate to put it like this, but, the transfer portal and all that kind of scares you. I think you want to do right by guys. I think, I do believe if there was a clear-cut guy, this is our guy, we know he's our guy, I think they would go ahead and name him. But there's just a little bit of a, maybe not enough of a separation. So let's, take it into the summer. Let's take it into the fall camp and see what we've got. Obviously this burned them a few years ago when Gary Bohannon left after Blake Shapen was named. So I think those things have to run in your mind. I mean, it's just that kind of world today. And you do worry about those things. But like I said, I think Dave's character tells me that if he knew specifically, hey, Sawyer, it's not going to be you, I think he would have that conversation. But, again, you hate to lose guys in the portal. So if this needs to be a competition that runs through the fall, I think it will, then that's what you need to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they can compete and they can, really go at it in the fall and decide, maybe somebody really steps up and makes their case in the fall camp.
Yeah, and thinking about the portal windows, there's two of them in football. Much different game between football and basketball. You think about the basketball one, which is wild. They actually start that one during March Madness. Not a huge fan of that, by the way. But any event, on the football side, the spring window is April 16th through April 30th. So we have 8 more days left in the month here in terms of that window. And remember, too, now with the game changing so much, there is no limits in transferring. You can limit as many, or you can transfer as many times as you want, really, and play right away as long as your academics are under control. So you could theoretically, be in those situations over on the football side that you could play 5 teams in 5 years. You have your redshirt season. You could leave after everyone, and no one would have any qualms about it. That is possible. And so there's a lot to play, Jerry. This game is much, much different than it was even 5 years ago.
Yeah, I don't like the, limitless, I guess, transfers. I don't like that because I just think it's a deal where, it really is a free agent market. And I think it is good for the players, but, for the coaches that have to deal with this and they're constantly having to rebuild their rosters and they don't know from maybe even 1 week, 1 day to the next day who's going to be there. Like when Baylor was done with spring training on Saturday, there's, who from that team that went through that spring practice, who is still going to be here in the fall? And, I'm sure there are some question marks, so it's tough. I do like it for the players. I like that they're able to move around like that, but I wish it wasn't limitless. I wish maybe you could have 2 transfers. But like you said, potentially you could transfer 4 or 5 times in your college career. And I just think I don't know that that's good for even the individual to go through that much change, every year.
Yeah, I've talked about this before, but even society and just job hopping for Gen Zs and the fact that a lot of people are renters and they want to just, take a job for a year and go on to the next job and keep moving around. And when you don't have anything at home, as far as, wife and kids, nothing holding you back, you can do all that, right? Like traveling the country. Well, if you're 18 to 23 and you're doing that, that sets someone up for a possibly doing that the rest of their life. And so that could be, have impacts. But yeah, right now you can do that. And, it's just one of those deals. And honestly, it's too, with the 2 windows, you really honestly have probably 6 months of it, knowing assurance that you have that guy on your team for 6 months. And then after that, it's another 6 months and then 6 months. And that's every school in the country for football. So that's very different, Jerry. If you left the game in 2019 and you came to the game in 2024, you wouldn't know. I mean, it's almost 180. We haven't even gotten into the 2-minute warning, and now we're going to have helmet communication. Finally, I think that's a great tool. But yeah, some things, on college football have been slow to adapt and change, like the football playoff, but some things have went rather quickly.
Yeah, and I think some of the change is good. Again, I think, and I probably sound a little bit like that, old man, get off my lawn. I think there needs to be some kind of cap on NIL at some point too, some kind of control, because it is really out of control right now. So I think at some point, and I know, people say, well, the genie's out of the bottle, you can never go back. Well, yeah, you can. You just have to have the rules in place, and it may be like government or federal or something that's the only way anything gets done. Because I'm not sure NCAA at this point, I'm not sure that they can make those kind of rules, but I think at some point it needs to be done. Again, I may be a little bit of that old man, get off my lawn, but that's who I am, I guess.
No, I don't think you are, Jerry. I think you're speaking for a lot of people that are probably 30 and over, and maybe even more than that, right? Just people that have watched college football for, 5 to 10 plus years and kind of have an understanding of, maybe been out in the workforce and maybe got a big boy job, an adult job. So, okay, here's Dave Aranda on portal needs. Obviously, you have to embrace it, right? You got to keep your guys, and then you got to go out there and find the best fits for you. Here's Coach.
We've got some guys that are lined up to come here this next week, and we're trying to line up some others in as well. And so I think that this is kind of the however many time through it, where the portal window opens, and then obviously the video is all being researched, and the phone calls are being made, and just all of it. And so I think the line of scrimmage is the biggest pressing need right now. I would say pass rush would be one that'd be up there too. And so we're working hard to get those addressed with fits for us.
The right fits, and those really, I think everybody has known like where we would be looking with the lines, especially with a couple of the injuries on the D line, Jerry. But you can never have enough depth on the offense and defensive line.
That's where you have to kind of build from, and if you don't have those, you're probably going to be in trouble. Baylor's best teams, if you look back at those back-to-back conference champions, if you look at the 2 Sugar Bowl teams, I think you would find really on all of those teams really good offensive lines, really good defensive lines, and some big playmakers on the defensive line. So, I think that's where you have to build, and that's where you get really good, is if those 2 units or if those 2 groups are good. Then the team is probably going to be good because it helps everybody else. If you have a really good offensive line that's going to give your quarterback some more time, obviously it helps him. Obviously it helps the running back, creating holes for him, giving the quarterback enough time so he can get it to the wide receivers. And then if you flip it over to the other side, if you've got a defensive line that they're really putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, that's going to create some, opportunities for the defensive backs to make plays, to get some interceptions, some pass breakups, those kind of things. So I think when you have those 2 groups in place, everything else works a whole lot better.
Okay, as we promised you at the top, we're going to talk through impact returners, guys that you need to keep an eye on for next fall. And Jerry, This isn't, we could go through a lot of guys, right? We're just going to pick one on offense each and one on defense. There's more than that to pick from. So hard decisions here, but these are just guys that come up to the top of the list for us. Jerry, let's focus on the offense first. You go first, then I'll follow up.
And just one, right? That is going to be tough.
Just one, if you want to throw on an honorable mention, but we only got so much time on the show.
I got you. The wide receiver room is, to me, like one of I think it can make the biggest jump this year. A lot of really quality guys in that room, a lot of talent in that room, bringing in guys like Ashton Hawkins and Jamal Bell. But I'm going to go with Hal Presley. I really feel like he's in line for a big breakout year. I saw him make some incredible catches during spring football. So he's a guy that I think could make a big jump. As I've talked about, I think Richard Reese is a guy that's going to be really good in this offense. I think he's going to flourish. He's going to get back to that guy that you saw as a freshman. But I'm going to go Hal Presley as my number one choice.
Okay, and I'll go with Colton Price, the center. He's a redshirt sophomore. He played in 8 games in 2023, making the final 6 starts of the year at center. We know the spread offense and how important the center is. You think back to some of the days, some of the 14, 15, 16 teams, a guy like Kyle Fuller, and how crucial he was to the quarterback and just the tempo and moving the ball and really working the offense. And I think Colton Price, a great guy, a good interview. He's been on this podcast. That's not why we're picking him, though. He's really mean in the trenches. And when he gets, that football helmet and puts the pads on and gets out there on the grass, he turns into a different guy. And really, Jerry, the kind of guy you want to have on your team, the guys that you want to have as your friend and not have to go up against them. And you need to be mean and, ugly on that O-line. It's not a pretty position to play, and you got to be throwing your weight around, and that's exactly what Colton Price does. So I'm really excited about his play next fall.
Yeah, and he, like you were talking about, I think he is that guy that if he's on the other team, you don't like him at all. So, yeah, that is a good pick, though, because he is going to control things up front. He's a returning starter. He's got that experience under his belt. And Colton, I think, may be ready to take another big step this year. He's going to be kind of that anchor of that offensive line.
Okay, now we move over to defense. I'll take the first pick here. Surprise, surprise. Caden Jenkins, a.k.a. the Slim Reaper on X. That's what he calls himself there. Freshman All-American. He came onto the scene last year and was ultra impressive. Number 19, his brother's here, Cameron. I think the best days are ahead of Caden. I know the Baylor family's really excited about his future. And he has the ability, Jerry, to be one of the best lockdown corners in the Big 12 Conference next season. I'm excited to see him ball out in 2024.
Yeah, and I think he's a guy that you can probably expect teams almost to kind of stay away from. He was that good as a freshman that, people may not throw his way just because he's so good over there. So, it could open up some things on the other side. But, yeah, that's a great pick. Caden, I think, he could be an All-American this year. He was a freshman All-American last year. I think he could be an All-American this year. There's so many guys to pick from, Justin, on that defensive side, a lot of returners. I like the safeties, Devin Lemire, Devin Bobby, some of those guys. I like the fact, and this is kind of a deal with Dave's defensive style, is that you're going to see 2 of the outside or jack linebackers out there at the same time a lot of times. So I think you're going to see a lot of Garmin Randolph, and you're going to see Tony Anyanwu. So I think those guys could have big years. But the one I'm expecting, and the one that I think maybe can flourish the best with Dave Aranda kind of spearheading that group, is Matt Jones at middle linebacker. I think he's going to have a monster year. Obviously, he led the team in tackles this last year. I think with this defense, he's going to make a lot more plays. Yes, he had a lot of tackles last year. This year, he's going to make plays. So Matt Jones is my pick for the top defensive returner coming back.
They call him Matty Ice. And Jerry, did I hear you right? You liked my picks?
And Justin, I'm just saying that for the podcast. I don't want to disagree with you on everything. I mean, Caden Jenkins was easy though. Come on. I mean, guy's a freshman All-American. You stole that from me. So yeah, the Caden Jenkins was a great pick. Colton Price is even a good pick. I mean, that, being on the offensive line, but yeah, I mean, your picks were okay. Mine are always better, but yours were okay in this case.
Okay. I appreciate it. I like a good compliment here or there. My love language is words of appreciation. So Jerry Hill, appreciate you, man. Excited about fall. It will be here before you know it.
Yeah, you're right, Justin. I mean, we feel like, okay, spring just got done, so now we got all this time to just kind of kick back and wait till the fall. No, I mean, they're going to go right into summer training, and they're going to get in the weight room and do all that stuff. And like you said, before you know it, August is going to be here. Or even, if you look at July, Big 12 football media days will be here. Then August football camp opens. And then, August 31st, here we are, Charlton, kicking off the 2024 season. And here we go for, 12 games and looking for a great year. I really am, Justin. I'm encouraged. I liked some of the stuff that I saw this spring, and I think we've got a chance that team has a chance to make a big jump this year.
That'll do it for today's edition of Inside Baylor Sports, a Sport and Story production. Thanks for listening. For Jerry Hill, I'm Justin Hoff. Have a great Monday, and Sic 'em Bears.
Sic 'em Bears.